Coming up next on Boston Rock Talk, Kristen Hirsh, the leader of Throwing Muses, 50-Foot Wave, and also a solo artist. Welcome to Boston Rock Talk. I'm your host, Jim Sullivan, and today our guest is Kristen Hersh, who wears a few hats: Throwing Muses, 50-Foot Wave, solo artist, which you are today, writer, mom, and a whole bunch of different things. Welcome.
Thank you.
Kristen and I have known each other going way back when she was a rat girl playing the Brat Club in Boston. When she was, I believe, 15, 14? When did you first start playing out with Throwing Muses?
Oh, we were about 14.
About 14.
Yeah.
Just a few years ago, in other words. So,
yeah.
So.
5 or 6.
Let me ask you where you stand with your various projects right now. Where are the Throwing Muses in your world?
Throwing Muses just came off the road. We released our first record in a decade as a book. 32 songs and 33 essays, I think. Mm-hmm. Just because we were sick of music being reduced to little pieces of plastic, and so now it's still a little piece of plastic, but it's stuck in a book, which is still a valuable item, and it's something that doesn't offend anybody when you give it to them. It's like a gift. You give somebody a CD, you're sort of forcing your musical taste on them. You give them a book, and it's still a present.
Oh, good. Canny. Good move. What's the book about? Is it like essays about the songs, or do they have anything to do with the music itself?
I'm not good at but I'm good at sitting in a cloud of a song and writing. So I try to keep that less pretentious than it sounds by including tour stories. And
I saw a sort of in-joke title for that record about pretentious something. What was it? What did you call it? Do you remember what it was? It was something. Well, the album is called what?
Something to that effect.
Yeah, something. It was funny. It was a very.
We
funny.
Suck is basically. What
it was very funny.
Well, because I don't know if we should be apologizing for the fact that we care so much, but we're too old to even care about that anymore. So. It's already thing, you know, and that's what we do. We're an art rock band, and we can't really help it. We were tasked with complexity, and so we're not going to make anybody happy unless that's what they want.
I remember when we talked a long time ago, you and Tanya, your half-sister, was in Throwing Muses at the time, and you were talking about being tagged as art rock chicks. And initially went, are we that? And then you said, yeah, I guess that's what we are. That was back.
Everything hurt our feelings. They called us alternative before anybody had heard that. Mm-hmm. And so we thought, alternative to what?
To what?
It just means like not music.
I think it meant at the time alternative to boring arena rock.
Hey, maybe you made it up. Maybe it's your fault.
No,
somebody
I couldn't have coined
did.
That. But they're all bad terms, aren't they? I mean, come on. Well, New Wave, how long did that? I mean, New Wave was briefly kind of fun and cool, and then it was like, no one's going to use that name anymore.
You know, Yeats had this theory that there are these inverted spirals in any art movement, and they begin with a density that is just chaos. Mm-hmm. And as they expand and bring more people into the circle, they are accepted and yet imitated until this ever-widening circle just dissipates and there's no energy anymore. And in the middle of that is another little circle of chaos. And that's what we were. We were dense.
A little circle of chaos. That's good. Where does 50-Foot Wave stand? And they're more of they're more of a punk rock band, kind of, right?
Yeah, noise rock, math rock. We've been called lots of things, but another trio, and yeah, it's loud and it's messy, but it's also kind. It's fun. Mm-hmm. I don't think Throwing Muses was always fun or ever fun, but 50-Foot Wave is a celebratory endeavor, mostly a live band, and we're halfway through our next record right now.
When do you hope to release that?
You know, that doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
I decided that we were never going to be part of the recording industry, so we have no label. I don't expect radio play. We get it, but we give the music away, and so we could do 1 million downloads and be considered failures, as if we just dropped them out of a helicopter onto a third world
Well,
country.
didn't you two try that and it didn't really work out so well?
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I was too busy.
They didn't stuff your inbox with.
But so we get used on like skate videos, and it's sort of this power to the people thing where
Excellent.
we just think music should be freed by being free.
And I guess finally in the music realm, solo, which you're doing right now for us here, playing solo. How does that fit into the grand scheme of things for you? Why do you do the solo work? How is that different from the other stuff?
It was by accident initially. I recorded some acoustic songs for my husband, who happened to be my manager, and so I guess, I don't know if he was confused or just playing a trick on me, but he sent it to my business manager. Michael Sipe picked it up off of his desk and sent it to Warner Brothers, and they said, oh, okay, we'll release this record. I was like, no, it's not a record. And they said, yeah, it is, we're gonna release it. I was like, you have to let me do it on purpose. So I did exactly the same thing, but on purpose, and that was my solo record.
When was that? What year was that?
Oh, I don't know, some years.
Somewhere in the 90s or something.
It was in the past.
In the past.
It was numbers.
And what is there another Throwing Muses album to come, or are we kind of,
I don't know.
is that on hiatus right now? You don't know?
The songs determine that stuff.
Yeah.
Throwing Muses songs are written on my Strat or my Tele, 50-foot wave on my SGs or my Les Paul, and then solo on my Collings guitars. The guitars make the choice.
Well, you've got that guitar here now. Would you like to play a song for us and tell us what it's going to be?
I'll play Crate from my last solo record, Crooked.
Excellent.
Suburban desert, a fast food high. We swipe the peeling paint, swat away flies, the crawling milk fed, squawking cream filled hominids. It's immune to broken, to naked shame. The boats of life. Together, your body's guards, the bloodiest bond, blacking out the darkest flame, the darkest walls, a sunburned snarl, the rushing and bars of singular desire to drive into the dirt. No lust, no gluttony, we're free as a suburban desert, a fast food high. We swipe it, peeling paint, swat away flies, the crawling milk fed, squawking cream filled hominids. It's immune to broken, to wasted time, to bolts of light. To broken frame, to broken walls, to sunburned snarl, the rushing and bars of singular desire to drive into the dirt. No lust, no gluttony, we're free as algae. Those with an all-consuming passion in lockstep.
And now back to the hot seat, where you're grilled about your songwriting. Actually, I will ask you about your songwriting. We've talked about this in the past, and you have explained it as songs sort of coming through you, kind of coming from above and working through you, I believe. Is that still what, am I right, and is that still what happens?
It sounds so lame, but yeah. Can't take responsibility for them because I don't make them up, I hear them. And I copy them down. And I know that I got it wrong if the lyrics, which I hear as phonetic melody, get stuck in my throat and feel like a lie. If the chords sound like I've heard them too many times before, or if they're emotionally manipulative, I know that I'm getting in the way. So my job is just to shut up, not get in the way.
Not get in the way of the songs.
Yeah.
And I know one of the guys in the Muses, I think, talked about when he would hear the songs, especially when you play them live, it was almost like a different person singing them than the you that he knew.
It turned out to be a different person, actually. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
what. Yeah, I mean, I've been reading up about what's been going on the past couple of years. I know you were at one point diagnosed as bipolar, schizophrenic. Those turned out not to be the case. You want to tell people what the case turned out to be? And
Yeah, I have a feeling it's not that unusual, that series of diagnoses, and what it ended up being was split personality, called dissociative disorder, and all of my trauma, every sadness, anger, pain had gone into the music. So I was a very nice lady, and the music was horrifying, and that's how I dealt with a difficult life, you know. There's always a harder life, but I didn't have an easy time of it, and this other personality had taken all of the pain, and she only spoke in music, and her name was Rat Girl. And when I went on stage, I'd be shaking with fear. I had horrible stage fright because Kristen doesn't know what's going on. Kristen can't write songs or even play guitar. Rat Girl was the one who did it. So I went into a classic switching mode where I would shake and get cold and my eyes would glaze over and I'd focus on the distance, and I called it disappearing, and people thought I was speaking metaphorically, but dissociative people also call it disappearing. And I had no memory of having written any song, played any song. In between, I could get down on the floor and check my pedals and my set list and tune, and then as soon as the song began, bam, I wasn't even blinking anymore. I can't believe over the course of 25 years, there wasn't a single medical professional in an audience watching someone classically switch and didn't tell me. I didn't find out until this year.
where is that situation now then?
I no longer hear music, so this may be it for my songs. I don't know. I'm playing songs that were written before I was treated for PTSD, which is what released the other personality.
That was the result, I guess, of a bike accident when you were a kid? Was that right?
That was just part of it.
Oh,
That was the first time I heard the music. I had a double concussion and I heard her for the first time, but it had begun when I was a toddler. I think it always does. It's a coping and survival mechanism. So it's possible that I shouldn't have been cured.
So, and what you're saying now is that the songs that have all been written were written by you as Rat Girl, and you're not sure about songwriting now, that you can do that?
Right.
Wow. That's bold to admit, I mean, in a lot of ways.
I never
Are you
sat down to
scared?
write a song. I heard them.
Are you scared about that, though? That maybe songs won't come?
I'm relieved and concerned because it's my religion.
Right.
Fear is, there's no place for fear in it. It's more like I gotta remain standing.
Yeah. You are working on a book about a guy named Vic Chesnutt, late singer-songwriter, who I liked very much. Obviously, you did. Did you know him personally? What was your relationship with him, and why did you decide to do the book?
He opened for me on my first solo tour, which was a hard thing for me to do. I'd always hidden behind my bandmates. I was very shy. I had to learn to play wearing contacts for the first time so I could see the audience, because when I tried to find the stool in the middle of the stage in these big theaters, I would bump into it or fall off it.
How bad was your vision?
I had to be able to see, yeah.
How bad was your vision?
Oh, pretty bad.
Pretty bad?
And when you bump into the mic, everybody hears it. It goes thunk. So I had to learn to play while seeing the audience. And so Vic was there for that, just laughing at me. And that went on for a couple of years. And we got pretty close because touring is very, very, very boring. It's also really stressful. It's like being a firefighter. And so that brings people together. And he was just funny as hell. And his songwriting, when it was good, was the best. So I was asked to write what I thought was an article about Vic. And it turned out to be a book on...
I love the title. What's the title again?
Don't Suck, Don't Die. That's what we promised each other, and he broke that promise.
He did break that promise. The latter promise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You, I think, have worked up a Vic Chesnutt song for us today. When we talked about doing this show, Kristen said, I think I've got to kick my own ass to learn one. And I think you have, correct?
Just a second ago.
Well, that's the kind of show we are, spontaneous. So, what song are you playing by his?
Panic Pure.
Panic Pure.
This is what Vic and I used to call the ham song. Because the lyrics, smoked or honey cured. It's like, Vic, you don't write about ham. He's like, yeah, I do.
My earliest memory is of holding up a sparkler high up to the darkest sky, some 4th of July spectacular. I shoot it with an urgency I'll never ever be able to repeat. At times and I could be accused of being painfully nostalgic, but as of late I'm looking forward to the future, though I've never been much of a planner. Throwing caution into the fan, catch as those catchers can. So all you observers in your scrutiny, don't count my scars like tree rings. My jigsaw disposition is piecemeal properties are either smoked or honey cured by the panic pure. Yeah, by the panic pure.
Nice.
You
want to do one more now and then come back?
I can pinpoint the moment you closed your eyes and said yes to the flooding. Like melting, you shrugged off the clothes of your life, and well, I hope you remind me it's here. I hope you remind me it's here. speed, hungering for someone who left in half the time. Fuzzy, fumbling, that thirst is gone. We're alone. Barking nightly, begging for a future you need. Fuzzy, fumbling, that thirst is gone. We're alone.
Very nice. Am I sad?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have any happy songs, I don't think.
You know what? I remember this from way back when we talked. Before I met you, and I just heard the music. I went, "Oh my God, this is going to be a tough interview. She's dark and twisted, and ooh." And you and Tanya at the time, we were having a dinner at some Japanese restaurant, and you guys were just giggle pusses. You were so different off stage.
They're really, really, really nice, and we never stopped laughing. In fact, that was all we had. It's almost a weapon or a hiding place. And my band is still that, and that's what our bus is. If you're not laughing, then you're talking about something necessary. But we don't get dark. There's no place for it. There's too much darkness. That's why.
Yes. I want to read you something you said about fame, which I loved. This is an interview we did, again, somewhere in the 90s, okay? So I don't misquote you, I will read it. And you said, "You're always asked to be a little worse or a little more stupid to be successful. But it doesn't hit me deep. The alternative to it is being famous, and I don't like the fame that I have. We just try and entertain us. People never believe we're not trying to have a hit record. I'd rather be a waitress with a great band than a rock star in a lousy band. But I could never be a waitress because I'm always tripping over my own feet." So
It's just a giant fail.
an example of your early day.
It's true, though, and it's still true. We're still trying to refine our audience, not expand it. I tried for years to say, you have a soul. You have a spine. Music can move you. You shouldn't listen to crap. Just like you shouldn't eat crap. And meaning is probably why we're here, so don't walk away from it. It's out there. Music can save you, in other words. And people's eyes just glaze over. That means absolutely nothing. It's like to sell them on religion by knocking on their door, which we also know doesn't work very well.
Doesn't work, right? But
And so I've just started saying, it's not for everyone. I don't think it's for you. And their response is, gimme, gimme, gimme.
good point. It's a good selling technique. Not that you intended it that way, but that's
at least
good.
they try.
I like that. Kristen Hirsh, refining our audience, winnowing out those who really don't care.
But it's true. The rare occasion when we had radio play, it was just a sea of like frat guys in baseball caps and their dates. It weren't women; they were like girl people, and we wanted grown-ups. We wanted smart people, no matter how old they were.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we used the terms young and old not to mean age, but to mean people who will never get it, but for varying reasons.
Right. It reminds me of seeing Nirvana at the stadium level, and the music was great, but the audience was so sucky. It was like what you just described.
Yeah, that has happened to me a few times, and I'm lucky enough to have been allowed to play in the corner of the business for so long that we have reverent audiences, they're listening audiences, and I'm listener supported. so that I don't have to engage in the recording
I was
industry.
going to ask you about that. It's called Cash Music, I think, your company or whatever. Can you explain a little bit about that?
It's a nonprofit, and it provides tools for to musicians to help them maintain. Really, it's like it's all about sustainability right now. Selling out should never have been an option, is no longer an option, and yet that's the stage is set for music to not suck anymore for that reason. We're not there yet, but if we can educate the public musically, make them musically literate, emotionally literate, you won't be able to lie to them much longer. You won't be able to feed them style over substance for too many more decades. They will demand quality, and they will have spines and souls that can be moved by sound.
But how many more decades will we be here,
Well,
Kristen?
I'm not going to be here for it.
Your children
but,
will be here,
yeah.
perhaps. Are you making a record that has to do with Wyatt, one of your sons?
Hey,
Did I
yeah.
say that? What? Yeah. What?
My son Wyatt would come visit me at the studio. We lived in a farmhouse right up the street. Very dangerous, very expensive to live down up the street from your studio. So I didn't stay out of it. And we'd walk down in the snow, and he would explore this abandoned building behind the studio called the Coyote Palace. And his expression looking at it, he was flushed. He's on the autism spectrum. He's very focused and brilliant and strange. And I just watched his eyes as he looked at this building where coyotes were living with old mattresses and silverware and stuff. And
Silverware?
well, the detritus of the people who had abandoned the building.
Oh, they weren't using the silverware.
They might have been.
They might be, we don't know.
But Wyatt just needed it to the point where it was almost an obsession. And then, bam, in 1 minute it was gone. There is no more Coyote Palace in his psychology. And my drummer from Throwing Muses said it's because he needs to encapsulate sense memories so that he can filter them through his own psychology, and then we'll see it back in his art. He's an animator. And
How old is he?
he's 18.
18. So he's just getting going in that area.
And I realized that's art. You should be able, on a dime, to turn your back on your obsession and say it's now a gift.
No, that's good. I want to do a couple of more songs to play us out, but I wanted to ask you one thing. You talked about over the years, I mean, especially when you were at your commercial peak, if you will, about the way the music industry tried to pigeonhole female artists and, just sort of the sensitive singer-songwriter, the rebel and all of that. Where are you now on all that? I mean, do you think the business has changed at all in that way, or does it affect you?
Yeah, I don't
in
care
any
at
way,
all.
or you just don't care?
I never cared.
You
and
never
I really don't care now. I wasn't presenting myself as such. I would hate to be writing for straight white females. That would just be evil. And in fact, I think it was a Village Voice preview said you should come to this Kristen Hirsch show if only to see the bizarre cross-section of humanity that will attend. And I was proud. Publicists get mad because it means I have no target audience, but I thought, humanity is a target audience.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Didn't Spin Magazine try to dress you up for a photo shoot? You tell the story.
Rolling Stone did worse,
Okay.
but I don't need to talk about that.
What?
I walked out of the Spin one. That was too much.
What did they try to do with you?
I was supposed to marry Jon Stewart. It was going to be a rock and roll wedding, and I thought, he's not rock and roll. Neither am I. But I showed up because it was my job somehow, and it just went downhill from there. What I was supposed to wear was lacy underwear with the word bride written in rubies across the crotch. And I thought, this is music? And when I thought that, my publicist said, we're leaving. And I sort of believed it. I was on Warner Brothers. I bought the crap. Not that I ever thought it was okay, but I thought it worked. I would fight with them. I would say, why? You
Right.
sell crap. And they'd
Right.
say, because crap sells. I was like, no, it's because you sell crap. And I still believed that crap sold, but I don't believe it anymore. I think people's listening tastes are much more idiosyncratic than we give them credit for.
That's good. Well, why don't we play some non-crap to play us out of the show? Would you
Oh,
like to do that?
yeah.
And tell people what you're going to do. You're going to do one or two. I don't know what you'd like.
Oh, I'll do a couple. I got a million. I'll do Hysterical Bending, which I wrote probably the day I had my first baby, first song, first baby.
Excellent.
Hysterical blending, can't speak. Hysterical woman screams, I think. Air holds bending. A woman can't be held. Is a river runs like water through hell. What am I doing on a mountain? Red water complain. This train says I can't be contained. There is flight. Hysterical bending, can speak. Hysterical woman screams, I think. It holds the bending. A woman can't be held. This river runs like water through hell. What am I doing on a mountain? I hate the rain. This train says I can't be contained. My baby cries. Oh, decided rain. Who's the loser drunk on mystery? Artificially sweet. Too dumb to go home. At the end of a good choking, it's too late to go home. He said, do you know what it feels like to be street, artificially clean, too drunk to go home. At the wet end of a good soaking, it's too late to go home. He said, do you know what it feels like to be broke? He said, do you know what it feels